Are we live?
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
there we go. Yes, hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to PixlynePod. I'm Eloise, and I'm here with my special co-hosts, Goddess and Binary. PixlynePod is where creativity meets conversation, and artists come to explore what it really means to create in today's world. This is a space for honest conversation about what it means to create without limits, without needing all of the answers, and with no pressure. Whether you're just starting out or you've been creating for years and years, you are a part of this. So welcome back and let's get into it.
Greetings, everyone. We're so glad that you're here with us. And as always, each week we dive into a theme around art and creativity, share stories, highlight voices from our Pixeline community, and we invite you into the conversation. And today, our topic may feel like a simple one to some, but I don't think it necessarily isn't. What do you think, Eloise?
Yeah, I don't think it's an easy one either. We're going to be asking today, does art need meaning?
Mm.
Um, Maybe it can just exist. Maybe it can just be beautiful. Maybe it can be fun. Maybe it can be interactive. Sometimes we look at a piece and we ask ourselves, what does it mean? Other times, maybe we look at something and we just feel a happy emotion or a sad emotion, but we don't really need the whole explanation behind it. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, Goddess, tell us about the May Discord challenge for our Pixeline members.
Yes, so we want to give you guys a reminder about our May Discord challenge for the Pixeline members. Our challenge this month is Africa One Voice. We're asking that you create one artwork in any medium. It could be painting, digital, photography, collage, mixed media, 3D, whatever your choice is. But we ask that it reflects to you what Africa means to you, the richness of the culture, the heritage, and the identity. We ask for unity across diversity, rhythm, movement, storytelling, and or tradition. We ask that you include a short caption, poem, or reflection showing the medium behind your piece. We want you to post your entry in our May Challenge channel in the Discord, and we ask that all entries are in by the 24th of May. On the 25th of May, which is Africa Day, that is when we will announce the winner, and they will be featured live on our Pixeline podcast in June, and they will also receive a limited edition pope for participating in that event.
Great, thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right, so normally this is where we would be spotlighting one of the artists from our community. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to have art confessions. Now, I know that this is something that you guys have not been prepared for, and that's what's going to make it really fun. I'm going to ask each of you a question, and you're going to have to confess if you're guilty or not guilty. Don't overthink it. Don't like. Just be honest. Just be honest and have
Mhm.
fun, and be guilty if you are. Binary, I'm going to start with you. Now, be honest, B. Have you ever looked at your own work and thought, what was I even trying to do? Are you guilty or not guilty?
Yes, I'm guilty. I think every artist is. Uh,
Mhm.
so, especially when I look at my older work, when I first started working with AI, um, you can still see the images on my Instagram account. Then I see, yeah, it's so
Yeah.
totally different. The style, the ideas behind it, and of course, it has to do with the limitations of AI at that time.
Mhm.
Right.
But it's very colorful, and I usually don't do that anymore. It's not really my thing.
Uh-huh.
And when I look at it, I think, well, I don't see binary, and I think it has something to do with growing as an artist. But yeah, there are a lot of images that I rather keep to myself and not share.
Yes, yes. Yes, I think you make a good point there. I think when AI and the use of AI started to become prolific some years ago, I think that a lot of artists created works that wasn't really representative of who they were or what they wanted to say, or maybe they didn't want to say anything, but we were experimenting with so many different styles and so many different things that we could suddenly do that we hadn't been doing before, that some artists went out on a bit of a tangent, I think, and it took some introspection to kind of come back and say, hey, that's not really what I want to say. It's fun to experiment and to explore and to look at new things, but I want to bring it back more to what I feel and say and what is more me. So I think, as you've said, B, I think if you look at a lot of artists who now incorporate AI into their work, if you go back a couple of years and look at the artworks that they were producing then, you will see a progression. You will see how the artists have grown, specifically in the AI environment. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think most of us are guilty of creating things and we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Goddess, have you ever given really deep meaning to any of your artworks after you created them?
Okay, so I'm gonna say that binary's question was easier for me because I was all over it in my head. But have I ever
You can
given
answer her question too.
um well, yeah, for her question, yeah, I've always well, I can't say I've always, but I guess I could say too early on, and even now I'll have something that, I was trying to create, and I'm like, okay, what was I trying to do again? Like, I'll get lost in my own, thought process
Yeah.
in trying to get a certain thing, and I'll lose um the core the core catalyst behind me creating or working towards whatever, and I'll get lost and I'm like, okay, I don't even remember what I was trying to do now. So that's always fun, and a lot of times I end up with something that, I didn't expect to happen. And that kind of brings me to giving my work deep meaning, or giving it a deep meaning after I've created it. Yeah, that kinda happens, quite a bit, because I can go into it with an idea, and I can say, "Well, I wanna create this. This is what I'm going for. This is the feeling. This is the theme I'm going for." And I can get something, and it's like, "Oh," and it'll cause me or prompt me to have a deeper thought, a deeper, um like, I'll find a deeper meaning than what I initially started out with. So it'll change how it'll change my own perspective, because it's like, wow, I didn't think it would be interpreted that way, or I didn't think the emotions or the feelings that I was trying to express would come out that way. So yeah, I can honestly say that I am guilty of giving my work deep thought, like, or deep meaning afterwards, and when that happens, I feel like, wow, I was so shallow at the beginning. I was so surface in what I was going for, but yes, that I am guilty of that.
That's really interesting. Again, I think probably many creators attach meaning to their work after they've created, whether it's painting or whether it's maybe a piece of music or something. But I think that also shows a lot of growth, both within ourselves and in the artwork that we're trying to create. Because
Mhm.
I think as you start with something, maybe it's a blank canvas. Very often when people have a creative block, then the advice you're given is just start, just do anything, just make a stripe or paint with a brush a line, or just kind of make any type of mark, just to get yourself going and to get the feeling going. And there you are creating, or you're starting to create something with no intention, no feeling, no emotion, no sort of
Mhm.
thought about what the outcome is going to be. But then
Right.
as you progress and you do end up with something that perhaps you're proud of, or subconsciously something has come through that you've now created, then it does end up having meaning. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think
Hmm.
that's a really good way to end an artwork if you've started it with no intention at all.
Yeah, like you, and even if you had some kind of inkling of what you were going with, to, like I said, there are times when I'm thinking, wow, I was kind of surface with how I was going into it. And that changes towards, as I go through the process, when I get to an outcome that really makes me stop. And it's like, oh wow, I didn't, I was being really, not very deep with what I was thinking or what I was leading with. But now seeing this, and it'll prompt you to have a deeper meaning after you've actually, gone into it and started it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, I mean, exactly what we're talking about now just
Yeah,
leads into our topic for
it
today,
does.
which is, does art need meaning? You know, does it
Mhm.
need to be important? Does it need to have a message? Does it need to, like, create an emotion in us? Or can it sometimes just be meaningless? Can it
Mhm.
sometimes just be like fun? Yeah, what do you think? What do you think, Goddess?
I think yeah, I think that art doesn't necessarily need to have a meaning. Like sometimes we create just intuitively, like something can draw us in, like it could be something that we saw, during the day, something that we heard. It could be, a color, or anything, something intuitive can, kind of push you in a direction to create, to make you want to create. But
Yeah,
you don't necessarily have an intent or a meaning to it. You're not going into it with a meaning. You're just being pulled to create. So for you in that moment, there is no meaning there. You're just, I'm creating because I feel drawn to create. And that's what happens. So I don't necessarily think that we need to have a meaning when we, for everything that we do. And to be honest, sometimes I think when we create intuitively, that that art has, it ends up having more meaning. I think it has more, and more meaning for you, and more, a broader scope of interpretation for the person that's, viewing the art. So I think, that's how I think it goes when you look at that.
Do you think that artists feel the need to explain their artworks?
I I think it depends on the situation. I think, I want to think, just for my own personal experience, that when I put a piece of art out there, you do want to see what the interpretation is. You want to see how people perceive it, what it makes them feel like, how do they resonate with it, do they not? You kind of want to know that without having to initially explain it, without putting it out there. But then, if you have some sort of, let's say, the interpretations that you're hearing, or the feelings that are being given, they're a bit off, and that's not what your intentions were. Like, you had a certain thing in your mind, and you feel like, well, let me explain what I was going for. Let me explain what I was trying to get across. And then that may be you, actually dissecting your work, saying, well, I use this color because of, for this reason. I use this shape, this character, this is my theme. And then you may find yourself then explaining, why you created it, why you use this particular, medium, or however, for to get the actual true interpretation across for what you wanted to do. And I don't necessarily think that when you do have to explain, or when you do explain, that you should be put off or feel some type of way if the audience still does not follow suit with what you were going
Yeah,
for. Because ultimately, when we put our art out there, we are expressing ourselves, and we do want people to connect and resonate with it, however they do it.
right.
So you don't necessarily want your explanation to be the end all be all for it. No, you're saying, okay, this is what I was going for, this is what I was doing. But I hope in doing so, artists always remain open to what the audience is, what they're feeling and how it
Yeah.
relates to them.
Do you think that if you, as a creator, do you think that if you express your feelings in the creation, but you can't express it in words? Because sometimes it's difficult to express
Mm.
in language what you feel inside, that you put onto a piece of paper or a canvas or whatever it is that you're using, a sculpture maybe. Do you think that it's enough to just have that feeling without having to express it in words?
So just to be clear, are you saying, is it possible to express your feelings without having any words at all?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that that's what do you think that it's good enough for a collector to just accept that you can't
Oh, yeah.
express it in words, they just have to accept the feeling that you put into it?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think that's yeah, I think that's definitely possible to have something that, and you may have that conversation with that collector, and they may ask, what was going on, what was going through your head, why did you create this? And to have the response, well, I don't know. I can't really express or say how I was feeling. I was just putting it, in my art. So back to, well, I use this color or I use this medium because it seemed to relate, or it seemed to carry
Yeah,
meaning for me, even though I couldn't express it in words. This particular texture, this particular brushstroke or color, or I wanted to use this, I decided to use like a scouring pad, or a broad stroke brush, something like that, to get my feeling across. I was feeling, if you were feeling angry but you couldn't necessarily express, then you may have something where you actually have your art and it's actually, maybe it has a physical tear in it,
yeah,
anything that you may use to express that feeling with, tangible touch and um visual, like visual aid, like using actual tangible mediums to get that feeling across, because at
yeah.
that time you're using actual, your other senses, since you can't be verbal. Then you're using your other senses to get that concept across. So yeah,
Right.
I definitely think you could do it
Yeah.
without using words.
I see one of our audience members, Photograph Hanukkah, has said that she likes to read the story behind an artwork.
Mm,
And that reminded me that I went to an exhibition a number of years ago, probably a good 5 years ago, here in Mauritius. And there was a particular artwork that I saw. It was a painting, and I sort of saw it, and I kind of walked past it, and I didn't really connect with it. I didn't really, because often when you go to an exhibition, especially if it's an exhibition of various artists, you kind of look around and you see what you're drawn to, and you'll go to like kind of what you like or what appeals to you, or if something is
mm-hmm,
interesting. So often you'll see something, but you won't really stop and admire it for very long if it hasn't caught your attention in some way. And
mm-hmm,
there was this particular artwork that I kind of saw, but it didn't really appeal to me, and I sort of just carried on going. And later in the evening, the artist of that painting then actually gave the story behind that specific painting.
oh,
In fact, it was an abstract. And he gave the story behind the painting. And the more he spoke about it, and the more I actually
yep,
understood what he was saying, the more I liked the painting.
right.
So I had literally gone from taking no notice of it
Mm-hmm,
to really liking it when I understood what it was about. And I think that's exactly what Hanukkah is talking about. When you
mm-hmm,
know, or you feel the story behind the artwork, it creates an emotion. And you like art because or you like a particular piece of art because it creates an emotion in you.
Mhm.
Because we don't always like art that is beautiful either. That's the other thing. You could like an artwork because it's visually appealing to you, but it's not necessarily beautiful, right?
Mhm.
Do you agree with
Mhm.
that?
Yes. And I definitely agree with Hannah's depiction of wanting to know, or her take on wanting to know the story behind artwork, because I find myself, even if there's something that I don't necessarily gravitate towards, there's a part of me that wants to know why it doesn't. So, why
Yeah,
don't I necessarily like this artwork? What is it about it that I don't like? And when you have that, it kind of still makes you, for me, it makes me want to know what's the story behind it, because maybe it's the unspoken word that led me to feel that way. And once I hear it, it's like, oh yeah, that's why I didn't like that, or that's why I don't connect with that, because that part right there, it just doesn't, I don't um that doesn't appeal to me, or that's just something that I don't like. And then I like having the background too, also, for those moments when you have art that really gets you, and you really vibe with it, and you kind of have this secret mission of finding out what the artist's intention was, to see if you were right or wrong
right.
and
Yeah,
how and how you were feeling. So yeah, that I can definitely relate to wanting to know, um, the background to a piece of artwork. It does give, whether it's a
yeah,
nay or yay for you, it does give some kind of resolve for you to
yeah.
understand why you are feeling the way you are about the artwork. And now, in doing all that talking, I kind of forgot what was your question. Didn't you have a question leading to that?
I'm sure we've addressed it, because the next thing I wanted to ask you was how much do you feel you should know about the backstory of the artwork to have that connection versus your own interpretation connecting you to that artwork, and that's why you love it. Like, what do you think there's a balance? Do you think there's like a scale there?
I
um
I think there is some sort of balance between how you interpret or perceive the artwork in comparison to what the actual intent of the artwork was. And I think it's based on how you feel and how you react to the artwork, whether that how that scale tilts. If it tilts more towards you, then maybe it's just all bent on your, it's weighing heavily on your interpretation and how you feel about it. And maybe you don't need as much of that artist, giving you the backstory. You may
right,
be interested in it, you may want to actually hear about it, but it doesn't really turn or affect how you feel about the art. And then with your example, when you were saying like, well, I walked past this artwork and it didn't really gravitate. I didn't really gravitate towards it. It was abstract. But once I heard from the artist, then wow, I really connected with the artwork. So then on that side, it's going to weigh heavily on the artist, giving you that background, so you can then, tie into more of how you feel. So I think it just depends on how you respond to the artwork, whether which way that scale is going to turn, whether it's going to weigh heavily on you, or with the artist's the backstory. And I think it's balanced. Like, there's you really don't necessarily need one or the other, but it balances out when you have your feeling and your interpretation of the art, and it coincides, or it runs along with what the artist has. So then you just have a balance in between your interpretation and what their intent was. So then it's more
yeah,
even and you can understand. So yeah, I think
yeah,
that's how it works. For me, that's what
yeah.
I think.
Okay. I do also think that there is some importance in whether it's personal storytelling.
Mhm.
So you're painting for meaning, a message, self-reflection, experience, um, or you painting just for creativity's sake. So
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times the meaning behind a personal experience artwork is almost more important to know
Yeah.
than if someone's just painting a pretty picture.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I gotta agree. I think when there's a definite intent, like especially when it's personal, I think that's when that backstory is is needed. Like the artist needs to have that backstory accompany the art because you want to make sure that what you're giving is interpreted correctly, or and I guess what I'm trying to say is you want the person that's viewing the art to stay inside of what the story you're giving. This is the story, this is how I depicted my story, and this is what it means. And at that time you're not really open to, and when I say you're not really open, I'm not trying to push aside and say the artist isn't receptive of how you may feel about the art or how you may perceive it, how it relates to you. But I think it's just really important to them in that moment when they're creating that art that, hey, this is the story that goes with this art, and I want you to understand and
yeah,
hear and see my story. So they're not necessarily putting the viewer aside. They just want to make sure the viewer has no question in regards to where they're coming from.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think pretty much we both agree that um, messages are important.
Hmm.
That art does need meaning. That even as collectors, we want art to have meaning because we want that connection with the artist.
Hmm.
Yes, and very often, and this leads to one of the other topics we discuss, is your artist voice. So
Hmm.
when collectors know your voice and they know your story and they know the meaning behind your artworks, then they tend to recognize your art anywhere
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
they your artist voice comes through.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's important. So I think we
Yeah.
kind of agree on that.
Yeah. And also there's something that before we leave this topic that I want to touch on is that I think sometimes too as the audience that we may have been conditioned to expect the art to have meaning. So
Right.
we may think, okay, of course we're going into it and we may say, oh, I wonder what this means. I think it means, I think it means this, that, and the third, with the use of this medium, with the use of this color, or, I think, this is my interpretation. But when they come across the artist and the artist says, it doesn't have any meaning, it's just something that I wanted to do. It was something, I just did it and I liked it, and that's it. And I think sometimes I think we shouldn't necessarily lead with expecting the art to have a meaning. I think we need to be open to, yeah, this artist had um creative intent, they had a specific meaning that they want to go they wanted to express, or the artist very well didn't have any intent. They just wanted to create this because they like this color or they like this medium. So I think we shouldn't necessarily expect something. We shouldn't necessarily expect the story because then that can be a letdown for us, and then we can then turn around and say, well, I don't necessarily, like that piece or whatever, because I think you're
Yeah.
shutting yourself off, right? So I don't.
Yeah.
I think we have, may have been conditioned to think that everything has meaning, and it may not. It may just the artist may have no meaning whatsoever, and whatever meaning you put upon it, that's it. That's the meaning it's gonna have, and you're gonna have to be satisfied with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like um, when you go and see the painting of the red circle on a white background, and You can spend hours looking at it and interpreting it and trying to figure out what is this red circle saying. And in all likelihood, the guy just painted a red circle, you know.
Yeah, because he just felt like, oh, I like red today, and I'm gonna paint red.
Exactly.
But I
Yeah.
I think I think too, um, as we look at art, and even in our being the artist and being the person that's viewing it,
Yeah.
that red circle meaning is gonna change each and every time you see it. So every time you see it, it's gonna have a different meaning because
Yeah.
you're going to change. And I think looking back on um your artwork, like what Binary was saying earlier, and she was saying, yeah, I didn't necessarily see myself, and it's like that's because um you've changed. You weren't what you aren't what you were back then, but yet that still is a part of you. So every time you look at that, you may remember what you were trying to express or remember the feeling, but that feeling may not even resonate with you anymore. You know
Yeah.
what you were at that time, but that don't even look like me now, and that may be the attitude that you have. So you go look at that red circle last year, and then you come back and you look at that red circle this
Yeah.
year, and it's like, wow, this has such a powerful meaning. And
Yeah.
last year it didn't. You just look like a red
Yeah.
circle.
No, exactly. I mean, it's like, if you looked at that red circle and didn't know anything, it would
Right.
just maybe be a red circle.
Yeah.
But if you find out later that the artist murdered his wife, then that red
Then
circle
yeah.
would have a major significance to you, Like, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that's
it's
that's
very interpretive and very suggestive. Yeah.
yeah, that look, a white background with a red circle, and that's the story behind it. That definitely that would
Yeah.
definitely throw me off. So
Well,
yeah.
that leads us into our creative myth buster this week, right? Which is
Yes.
that art needs deep meaning to be valuable. Um,
Uh-uh. No, I I don't think necessarily art has to have um something important to say, or even, well, we may, and like I said before, I was saying that we may feel conditioned to think that we may think that art needs to have some kind of important message. It has to carry some kind of meaning, and it has to be serious, or whatever. But the truth of it is that it doesn't need to explain itself. A lot of times I think it's there for us to have our own interpretation, have
yeah,
our own, see what expressions we get, what feeling, how are we in the moment, whether we deem it beautiful or not, or the meaning, I think there that we're looking for, it doesn't necessarily have to come with words. It could just come with, how it affects you in that moment, how it, you know, um, relates to you, or how it doesn't relate to you. So it doesn't
yeah,
necessarily have a meaning, but I think a lot of times art is solely based on what the artist had in that moment, and then when they put it out there and they share what they have, I think they also share it with us to see how it affects us. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
the same thing as the artist.
yeah. Great. That's very cool. I like that we're busting these myths every week. I think it's really important.
I
Yeah,
think I
okay.
think we I think we bust myths every week because as artists we know what we've subjected ourselves to in it, and even in our own processes we have destroyed these myths on our own. So I think that's
Yeah.
why we're so good at doing.
100%. Yes. We're so good at it because we're busting them all the time. You are
Yes.
so right. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, that leads us to what are we loving this week?
Mm,
Every week we talk about what we're loving, whether it's something that's inspiring us, whether it's,
mhm,
well, it is inspiring us, whether it's a book, whether it's a movie, it could be an art tool, anything that's making you feel good this week.
mhm,
So I am going to ask Binary. Binary, what are you loving this week?
mhm.
This week I'm loving music. Music has always been important to me in many ways, but this week I've started work on the PixlynePod magazine, and I always do that while listening to music. I try to keep the outside noises out of my head, and music helps me to stay focused. Um, I have an eclectic taste in music. There are only a few music genres that I absolutely don't listen to, but I do not mind if music is made with AI or is old school or digital music production. For me, the most
Mm-hmm.
important part of music are the lyrics and how the music makes me feel. That for me, that's the most important part of music. So this week I've been listening to one of our Pixline members, Van den Hengel.
Okay.
I love his lyrics. They really speak to me. Um, he's a musician who doesn't use AI, but he uses digital music production. It's called producing in the box.
Hmm.
Okay.
And if you want to learn more about it, you can always look at the first issue of Pixline Pulse. There he has a whole article written about his work process. And yeah, so music is important for me this week. And I would like to say that I would love it if more musicians would join Pixline because I think art and music belongs together. So yeah.
Yes, you are so
Yes,
right. You
I
are so
agree.
right.
If,
I think we go on a drive to find some musicians. We do have a couple, but
mhm,
you're right. We definitely need more.
mhm. And
Yeah.
and to piggyback off of what she said, yeah, we would love to have more musicians, and for the Pixeline post for our issues that moving forward, we would like if any artist, any musician wanted to have something showcased in our magazine, um, for we would like for you to, if you do put something in our magazine, we like for you to have a still image of it and a QR code to that link so we could have that song, but we could still have that showcased in our magazine. And Binary has already given us her taste, so we would like to have artists that she likes.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. That's really, really interesting. And I have heard, I think, one piece of Van den Hengels, but
Mhm.
you've reminded me and re-inspired me to go and listen to more of his music. So thank you for that. B, I appreciate it. And yeah, we're going to connect again.
Yes.
Goddess, what are you loving this week?
Okay, so I wanted to be a bit more consistent and intentional with my art as of late. So where I'm at, this a month is uh mental health awareness month. So I wanted to be intentional in tapping in to see, how I was feeling, what I was thinking, and I wanted to do it with art. And my thing was to check in with myself every day, and say, hey, what's going on? How you feeling? What are you thinking? And I wanted to somehow express that with art, try to capture that emotion instead of, going throughout my day. And at the end of the week, I'm like, oh, and not not
Yeah.
being, intentional to take that 5 minutes or a few minutes. So that's what I've been doing. I have been loving my art. So that's what I'm trying to do this week. That's what I'm in love with.
And that's brilliant. I love that you are loving your art
Yeah.
because we all need to love ourselves and we all need to love what we create and be proud of what we do. And your art is really beautiful.
Thank you.
So I'm glad you are loving what you are doing. Keep
A-
sharing.
and I'll leave this to the interpretation of the viewer.
Thank you. I am loving this week mahjong.
Mm,
I am. I love mahjong. I
mhm,
try to play it once a week. We have a community of women who play mahjong, and I try to do it every week. It's my letting go and my stress release and taking my mind off everything that I have to do and just focusing on having fun, laughing. Sometimes we do a champagne breakfast. And it's the most beautiful game for your mind. To make little connections and to find um, those little interactions and the relationships between different things. I love it. I love it. So it's something small and controlled, but that can be interpreted in such a huge environment. So yeah, I'm loving my mahjong because I haven't been able to play it for a while. As you all probably know, I've been abroad. So
mhm.
I'm home again and I am able to connect with my girls and play mahjong. So that's what I'm loving this week.
Oh, well, I don't play it in a group, but I play it on my phone. So I like,
I
but
guarantee you that the one you're doing on your phone is not the same as the one in real
y-
life.
you make it sound more enticing to find a group to do it with. So yeah, that sounds like fun.
Oh, you once you start, you will become totally hooked.
Yeah, I like the idea of the of the group. Like you're playing a game, but at the same time you're communing with each other. You're being with the group,
Yeah,
and you have that time where you can you get away, and it's like this is my little friend group, and I could come and I can have a nice release and play a
yeah,
game, and it's light and airy. So that sounds like fun.
yeah, yeah. And I think we need to. I think as adults,
We need to
big
play.
children, we need to continue to play.
Yeah, well, we are big kids. I think that's
Yeah,
that's we all find our own little things that we still connect with, and it's
yeah,
something. Even if we didn't have it as kids, if we find it as adults, I think it's something that we definitely need something to play with all the time.
yeah.
I'm playing every day.
Yeah,
Gaming.
Yes.
yeah,
Remind us the name of your game.
Uh, I play two games, Animal
mhm.
Yeah,
Crossing and Pokopia.
that Pocopia. Binary has these very interesting, fascinating bits of
Yeah,
information.
but yeah,
Pocopia. Yeah.
yeah, I've had my kids are trying to convince me to play to get into gaming because I'll watch them game or they'll show me a video of someone gaming and they say my reactions are so comical that they want me to do it. So I don't know. They want me to get into it because they say you'll have fun and we'll have fun watching you. So
Ah, okay, okay.
so
What
I
do
think
they
I might be
play?
missing out. Oh, they do stuff like Minecraft and my
Okay.
one of them she does like what is it like the modeling games where you'll have a theme and you have to dress for that theme.
Okay.
So yeah, they do think well my youngest she does things like that, so they all have certain things that they're into. One's into music, so she'll have a game that's into that, or and another one's into like racing games or those what are the games where you have missions, things like that. So yeah, that's what they're into, and I'll be hollering saying, "Hey, do this," and they're like, "I can't do that right now. You need to stop. I can't do that right now. Pick that up."
Yeah.
And so they get excited off of how I react to them.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in your house.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more entertaining than the game.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, in closing, I think this has been a really great chat.
Yes.
I mean, we always love talking about art, right? And we do love busting those myths, and we do love talking about what's important to us. And I want to leave with the thought that maybe we must remember that art doesn't always need to be so serious. It doesn't
Mhm.
always need to say something. Um, Sometimes it just needs to let us feel, and that's good enough. And sometimes we just need to feel an artist, another artist, and that's also good enough. They don't have to tell us why or what they're painting or
Mhm. We just
AIing.
yeah, we just need to hold space for them. So that
Yeah,
that works too.
yeah. Next week's episode is another very interesting one. And in fact, it's one that a couple of our members have asked us to talk about.
Hmm.
And that is struggle necessary for great art? Do we have to suffer to create something meaningful? You know,
Mm.
if you think back to all the famous artists from 2000 and before years ago, up to the 60s and 70s, the artists that we loved, you always hear of how they suffered, you know,
Yes.
tragedies, divorce, death,
Yep.
chopping off their own ears because they were going
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, do we need the suffering in order to have incredible art,
Right.
or not? So that's the topic for next week. Yeah. So think about it. Think about it.
Yes, and definitely come back so we can so we can discuss that one to see if we think struggle is necessary.
Without chopping off any body
Yeah,
parts.
yeah, or losing any limbs. You know, we want to keep
Yeah.
all our limbs. We need everything to be creative. So hopefully it won't be necessary.
No.
So, with that, Eloise and Binary, of course, we always are very appreciative to all that tune in and spend time with us on the pod. If today's conversation sparked anything in you and we love to hear about it in the comments. We love to hear what your thoughts are, how you feel. And if you have any topics that you want us to discuss, maybe, put in the comments and let us know. But we look forward to you guys joining us next week, and we want to here well we'll come back and we'll discuss our conversations in regards to art, creative living. We always want to give thanks to all of those who support us in the background and those that tune into us. And as always, we're going to say take care, be safe, and always stay creative. Meet us here next week, same time, same place at Pixelon Pod. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.